Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back. Today, we're diving into a topic that is touching so many of us right now in big, sometimes disorienting ways. That sacred, awkward, in between space of transformation. You know the one. When the old you stops fitting the patterns, the identity, the way you've been showing up, it all is starting to unravel. But the new you, she hasn't fully arrived yet. And you're standing there in the void, not sure whether to grieve, celebrate, scream, or sleep. If that's where you are, you're not lost. You're becoming. And this is the episode for you. So let's drop in. There is a term in psychology and anthropology called liminality. It refers to the threshold between two states. And that's spelled Liminality, not Lemon. Okay. Look, guys, what liminality is, it's the threshold between two states, the no longer and the not yet. Okay. And while liminal space can feel incredibly uncomfortable, it's also sacred. It's the cocoon, it's the womb, it's where becoming happens. This season might feel foggy. Your motivation might drop. Things that used to feel right now feel heavy, tight, or just plain off. And yet, you can't quite name what's next. This is the in between, and it is holy ground. This isn't regression, guys, it's renovation. Just because things feel unclear doesn't mean you're off path. Sometimes the clarity doesn't come first, the shedding does. Okay? So when you think about a renovation, think about a home. Maybe you've never renovated a home on your own. Maybe you've watched a renovation show though. Maybe you've probably at least seen a business or a building being renovated though. Enough to know this. Destruction happens. Destruction has to happen first. There has to be this destruction, this breaking down, this crumbling, this taking apart, this deconstructing, right? That has to happen first so that we can renovate and then we can bring the fresh, the new in there. So just keep in mind that sometimes you got to make a mess before you get it all cleaned up. Okay, so I just want you to hear that. This is a sacred space between chapters. So let's begin by normalizing this phase. It's that strange moment when your life, your relationships, your work, even your own sense of self starts to feel misaligned. You're not broken though. You're not late. You're just between versions. This is not an error in the timeline. This is the timeline. Okay? You're not falling behind. You are falling deeper into yourself. And this isn't a breakdown. It is a breakthrough mid process. Okay? Right now, you're in the middle of it. And so right now, again, things felt good. You felt aligned. You were like doing good. You were integrating. You were applying all the things you were learning and taking in, and everything. It was good. And you were making moves in the right direction, and you felt good, and you felt momentum. And so now when things feel like, what is even going on? What is this misalignment? it's easy to wonder, am I, is this a breakdown? Am I doing something wrong? Have I fallen behind? No, guys, it's a breakthrough. You're just in the middle of it. And you got to, have you ever seen time lapse of a dahlia flower blooming? It's beautiful. And this is what is the most fascinating thing to me about it. It starts as a bud, right? And again, this is time lapse. And so as you see it start to open, it opens and it contracts, and it opens and it contracts, and it opens and it contracts, and it opens and it contracts. And every time it opens bigger and more beautiful, but it always contracts a little before it opens up into a bigger, more robust, more beautiful version of itself. We're like this too. And so this is just, this is kind of what's happening. You're mid process. This liminal space is not a void, it's a womb. And just like the cocoon, I used that example earlier as well. This is a really important place to be. And you don't want to rush this process. You want to be present in this process. And it feels pretty good when you know, like when you really know this is just part of it and that this isn't going to be forever. Okay? This is just part of it. You're not meant to recognize yourself right now. You're not done becoming. That's, yeah, you're in the middle. You're in the middle. You're mid process. Okay? The old chapter had a purpose. And you can't go back. And I've said this before. If you were to go back and erase all the mistakes you ever made, well, you would erase yourself. Okay? So your old chapter had a purpose. So does this pause, though. This is a necessary part of the process. So breathe into it, trust it, relax, okay? You don't have to know who you're becoming to trust the direction. You have faith, trust. When life quiets your external world, it's an invitation to hear your internal one. And as we know, because we talk about this all the time, that when your inner world changes, your outer world changes as well. You are being given this gift, this opportunity to go inward and to see what's there and to calibrate and to lean in, okay? This sacred middle space isn't meant to be rushed. It's meant to be revered. Something is stirring, something is preparing to emerge. This silence, or what could feel like silence from the outside world. Why do I have all these ideas and they're not landing? I was listening just yesterday to Jamie Kern Lima, whom I love. She is the founder of It Cosmetics, and she was talking about, she was telling a story specifically about when she had first started that brand in her living room. And for context, she ended up selling the brand to L'Oreal for 1.2 billion. It was their biggest North American acquisition, and she still remained CEO of the company as well for L'Oreal there. Anyway, but what she was sharing the story was that when she first started the company, she said, I was not prepared. She said, for the first couple years of having no success with my business, she said, I just really believe that if you created a product that was a really, really great product and you really believed in it and you created this product to truly make a positive impact in the world and to help people, I thought it was like, of course it was going to be a success. Of course it was going to be a success. And she said, I was not prepared for the first couple years of rejection and all the hundreds and thousands of no's that I got, right? And she said, and every time I would be like, am I not supposed to be doing this? But I would check in with my gut, and my gut said, no, you are supposed to be doing this. But she said it didn't make any sense and it was so hard. And ultimately, the moral of the story was she was saying that she began to reframe rejection into victory, right? But all of that to say this. And again, she went on to sell the company for 1.2 billion, okay? Now, what I'm saying though is this Jamie obviously, clearly, she built something huge, right? It was so huge, so huge. Those couple years, that was her pause. That silence, the nose, the crickets, her putting it out there, putting it out there, putting it out there, and getting no yeses, right? That silence, that was the sound of becoming. Jamie was silently, she might not have been silent. She was doing the work. She was putting it out there. She was putting it out into the world, but it was coming back as silence, right? She wasn't getting all the yeses that she felt in her gut that she was going to get. But that silence, that was the sound of her becoming. It was becoming the woman who was building a brand and an empire and a company that was going to make the kind of impact, global impact, that it has made, okay? I just want to remind you of that. So that's going to lead us into this: ego deaths and ego discomfort. So one of the hardest parts of transition is the slow or sudden, it could be either way, death of identity. And especially the ones that used to keep you safe, okay? The roles you played, the versions of yourself that were praised, the masks that you earned or that earned you belonging, the mask that you wore, okay? When they begin to dissolve, your ego panics, but your soul exhales. And that's the part I want you to hear and focus on, okay? So, you've likely heard the phrase ego death. And that's exactly what this space brings. You are letting go of identities that once protected you, defined you, maybe even earned you love or safety, and you are letting go of narratives that did the same. And that is not light work. Well, I want to say something. Okay. If you ever heard me talk about light work, like light work versus shadow work and stuff, what I'm saying is this is light work, but it's not light work as in heavy lifting, light lifting. I want you to, not as in bright light, okay? I want you to think of everything I just said, this ego death, this work that we're doing, okay? It's not light work. This space often brings grief and fear and disorientation. In other words, it can feel heavy, the opposite of light, okay? Because who are you without the labels? The achiever, the peacemaker, the strong one, the independent one, the fixer, the loyal one, whatever your labels are, okay? When those old archetypes start to loosen, it can feel like you're falling apart, but really you're falling open. This is your self-identity, your self-image. This isn't your undoing, it's your unveiling. The new version of you isn't a mask that you'll put on. It's a deeper truth being revealed layer by layer. Okay? Please go tune into the episode on ego deaths. I've got a whole episode on this. I'll link it in the show notes. But guys, this is like a really, really powerful episode. So I want you to tune into that one. And then the one right after it or right before it, Be Delulu Until It's True. Those two, they're back-to-back episodes. They go hand in hand. So recommend listening to them in any order you want, but listen to both of them because they do go together. Okay. Now, it's okay to mourn identities that once protected you. It's okay to do that. Like, you can grieve a version of yourself that is no longer, that died or that you killed. Okay. It could be an identity that you laid to rest, or that just you outgrew, whatever. Sometimes your soul does outgrow your persona. Ego will cling to certainty, even if that certainty is suffering. Okay. And so that's why we do the work of connecting with our higher self, because that transcends the ego. And when we can move from the place of our higher self, we can see things that ego fails to allow us to see. Truly, this is what shadow work is all about, too. You are not who you used to be. And that is a sign of evolution and not failure. And if there is a part of you that is like afraid of changing, because then it's going to be like, well, then that means that the old version of me was wrong. Again, you have to see that that's coming from a place of ego, and that you are safe to release that. That we're humans, we're meant to evolve and change and shift. And it's okay if you had ideas in the past, or ways of thinking or belief systems that served you at one point in your life, and that you have outgrown, that no longer resonate with you any longer. It doesn't It's okay to show both versions of yourself. The version that believed and lived by one set of beliefs, and a version that believes and lives by another. It's okay. And you don't worry about what the version of you, the way you're showing up now, how that's going to reflect on a past version of you, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Okay. You are not falling apart. You are falling open. This isn't self-loss. It's soul realignment and recalibration. And when the roles unravel, the truth gets to speak. And when you feel like you're losing yourself, ask this: which self? Which self am I losing? The one you built for survival, or the one that's always been waiting underneath? This identity shedding is uncomfortable. Yes, I know it is. Yes, yes. But it is deeply, beautifully necessary. Okay? That being said, how do you sit in the void? Because after the shedding comes the void. And this part often confuses people. The doing slows, the clarity stalls, and you feel like you're floating in the middle of nowhere. But the void isn't emptiness, okay? It is sacred space, and it is the silence before the symphony. So we can learn to sit in the void, because this is where it gets real. The void. The I don't know who I am anymore space. The I can't go back, but I can't move forward space. The I feel weird in my own skin space. Here's the thing: the void isn't empty, okay? Like I said, it's pregnant with possibility. But if we rush to fill it with distractions, performances, premature decisions, okay, we miss the quiet wisdom that lives there. So here's the key: presence is the portal, okay? When the future hasn't revealed itself and the past no longer fits, Your only task, your only task is to be with yourself, to feel, to breathe, to soften. This is where you learn how to hold yourself, okay? The void is not a punishment. So do not think of it that way. Do not look at it that way. Do not perceive it that way. It is a preparation. It is preparing you. Everything you're going through is preparing you for exactly what you asked for. Okay? We want to be still in this void from a place of peace. And stillness doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the deep work is underway. You cannot rush the gestation period of something sacred, of anything, okay? Like, you do not go plant a seed in the ground. I remember, this is standing out of my mind. I can like actually hear this being said in Abraham Hicks' voice. You don't go plant a seed in the ground and then go out later that afternoon and start stomping on the ground saying, why hasn't it shot up yet, right? Why hasn't it sprouted up yet? No, because you understand there is a gestation period. There is a period of time between when you plant the seed and when the seed sprouts, okay? That's where you are. So you can't rush this gestation period, especially of something sacred. And why would you want to? It may be uncomfortable, but that's where the message is. That's what you're being asked to tune into. That's you're asked to being asked to feel and to breathe into and to soften into. And this is what you're holding yourself, okay? When clarity disappears, curiosity takes its place and becomes your guide. If you had a whole bunch of clarity and all of a sudden you're like, I was really clear 6 months ago. I had a really good idea and now I'm like, WTF. Guys, okay, that's fine. Then get curious. Let that become your guide, and your curiosity will guide you back to clarity. Okay? The void is your cocoon. It is not your grave. You did not come into the void to die a slow, miserable death, even though at times that is exactly what it feels like. Like, you're just like, what am I even doing here in this void? Is it ever going to end? Am I ever going to not feel this way? Is it ever going to change? The answer is yes, 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 yes. Of course it's going to end. Of course it's not going to stay that way forever. You just have to realize that this void is your cocoon. And just like the caterpillar turns to goop, dissolves into goop, and then a new being, the butterfly, is formed inside, okay? That's what's happening with you. You were just, I know you feel like you're dissolving and it feels like goop sometimes. And you're like, again, like, why? This does not feel good. That's okay. You are, the moment you stop resisting the pause, it begins to serve you, okay? Just letting go is a process. It's not a switch that you flip. This is just the messy middle. It's just the messy middle, okay? So instead of fleeing the void, try sitting with it. Let it strip you of what no longer serves. Let it show you what's real. This discomfort won't last forever, but the wisdom you gather here will, okay? As you move through this transition, your frequency starts to shift. So even if your external life hasn't caught up yet, you start craving different conversations and environments and experiences. And it's not just change, it's resonance, okay? Resonance in the frequency of who you are becoming. We talked about this in last week's episode on the universal language of energy. So you're attuning to the energy of who you are becoming. And if you didn't tune in last week, do that. You got to trust the birth even when you can't name it. So, transformation rarely introduces itself by name, okay? You don't get a neat little announcement. Hi, you're becoming your highest self. Here's what to expect in the next 3 to 5 business days. No, guys, it's messy. It's nonlinear. It's like trying to put together a puzzle without knowing what the picture will be. But your soul knows and your body knows, and life is rearranging around your becoming. Like it's all happening. Oh, what did I just think of? I had a visual pop into my mind. Have y'all ever seen the Doctor Strange movie where they're like, the worlds like move as they're moving through them, like the stairs, they change orientation and direction, and it's all morphing as it's happening. That just popped into my mind. It's kind of, that's what life's doing. It's rearranging around your becoming, okay? The caterpillar doesn't need to understand the butterfly. It just trusts the process, right? A caterpillar isn't crawling around understanding the entire process or understanding what it means to be a butterfly, how it all works. It's just trusting the process. So if you can't name what you're becoming yet, that's okay. It's okay. You don't need a title or even a plan. You just need to trust. I always say there's power in planning. And so I say you don't need a plan, but I'm going to say this. Let your plan be to trust. Let that be the plan, okay? If it no longer resonates, then it no longer belongs. Your nervous system is recalibrating, and that's why old comfort zones now feel super uncomfortable. Like, you can have a comfort zone, and then that comfort zone, you just reach this point where all of a sudden your comfort zone is very, very uncomfortable. Maybe it could be a comfort zone you were in with your health. Maybe it could be a financial comfort zone, a comfort zone with your career, even a relationship, like your living arrangement, your situation, whatever it is, like something that you was like, I'm comfortable here, I'm working, it's working. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, wow, this is very uncomfortable because you've outgrown it. Okay? You're not too sensitive. You are tuning in. And resonance first shows up as discomfort, then as clarity. Again, I really encourage you to tune into last week's episode on energy. The language beneath words. Energy is universal. That's what episode it is. Well, we talk about resonance a lot in that as well, towards the end. So let your body lead. She knows what's aligned before your mind does, okay? Not everything that once worked will work moving forward. And that is proof of your evolution. It might feel a little frustrating at times, but, do your best to trust and to reframe that frustration into, this is proof of my evolution. You don't have to force alignment. You don't have to force alignment. When you shift your frequency, resonance finds you. You become magnetic, okay? You are not becoming too much, even if that's what it feels like right now. You're becoming more you. Trust the changes in your frequency. They are guiding you home to what's true and what's aligned and ready to meet the next version of you. Pretty exciting, huh? So one of the greatest invitations of this season is to trust the becoming without needing to control it. Did you hear that? Without needing to control it. This is where trust becomes sacred, because where you release your attachment to timelines, labels, and how it's supposed to look, quote unquote, then you surrender to what's real. I just thought of something. Someone sent me something this week. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to pull it up. I want to read it to you. Okay. Over the years, many things haven't turned out the way I had planned. I had it all figured out. I told God what to do, when to do it, what I needed, whom to use, and how to get me there. I gave him good information, my very best. The funny thing is that God didn't take my advice. He had his own plan, and it's always been better than my plan. His ways have always been more rewarding, more fulfilling, and bigger than my ways. If God had done what I asked, it would have limited my destiny. Don't be discouraged when something doesn't work out the way you want. God only knows what he's doing. One day, when you see what God was up to, you'll thank him for not answering some prayers. Know that God is in control. As long as you're honoring him and being your best, at the right time, God will get you to where you're supposed to be, and it will be better than you ever imagined. All right. Now, I wanted to throw that in there because, again, someone just sent that to me on Monday, and I got a good little chuckle when I read it, specifically this part. I had it all figured out. I told God what to do, when to do it, what I needed, whom to use, and how to get me there. I gave him good information, my very best. Isn't it funny how we do that? We try to control everything, right? And it's not just me, it's not just you, that's humans. And what I'm inviting you to do here is to release your attachment to timelines, to labels, to how it's supposed to look, to what I said here, to what to do, when to do it, what you need to do it, who to use, and how to get you there. Like all of us trying to micromanage our lives. And we got to let that go. We have to surrender to what is real, okay? And here's what you can do when the old you stops fitting. So what do you do when this happens? Because it will happen. First, pause before you pivot, okay? Resist the urge to fill the space with busy work or forced answers. You don't have to figure it all out. Be in it. Be in it. Just sit in it. Pause. Clean out the inner closet, okay? Journal. Reflect. Notice what feels heavy, outdated, misaligned. Clean it out. And then curate your energy. Be mindful of who and what you are around. You're energetically sensitive when you're in this space, okay? So you just really need to be mindful. Speak gently to yourself. This is not the time for self-judgment. It is a time for radical compassion. Radical compassion. And finally, I would say find mirrors, not maps. So surround yourself with people who reflect your potential, not people who are trying to tell you who to be. This will serve you well. This season is about subtraction and not addition. So because remember, we're creating space for everything that you've asked for. Everything you're going through is preparing you for everything you've asked for. So let go of what no longer fits. Let it fall away. Let life clear space. Your becoming will fill it. Okay. Your becoming will fill it. So just because you can't name it, remember, it doesn't mean it's not happening. You don't need a map when you're being moved by alignment. And the plan isn't missing, it's maturing. Okay? You were never meant to force the path. You just have to follow the pull. Where are you being pulled? Where are you being called? Life rearranges itself around your becoming in ways that you cannot even predict. And when we do, with our limited human perception, try to micromanage the way that our life goes, we really do. We limit ourselves because then we close off all possibility and potential for things beyond. We couldn't have even, we didn't even dream, imagine, think of, like, just so far outside of anything we on our own could have come up with, the way that things can fall into place. Okay. So, oh, and speaking of, since I said fall into place, I'm going to throw this in there. One of my little mantras I love, that ego says, when everything falls into place, I will feel peace. And soul says, when I feel peace, everything will fall into place. Okay. When you try to name it too soon, you can shrink what it's meant to become. I think that's another thing to keep in mind. It's okay to be devoted without definition. You can be devoted to the path and to the process without defining, again, naming it what it is. You can be the caterpillar entering into the chrysalis without saying, okay, I'm doing this so that I can become a butterfly. You can just be doing it because this is what you're being called and led to do. Okay? The universe rarely hands you the entire blueprint. It hands you the next step, maybe a quiet knowing, a feeling. And if you can trust that, you will be carried through this transformation with grace and not force. And I encourage you to go through your transformation with grace. When the future is unclear and the past no longer fits, the most powerful thing that you can do is anchor into the now. Not to escape, but to witness and to land and to meet yourself right where you are without trying to edit it. You're not broken, you're in between. So let's name this clearly, okay? You're not broken. You're not lost. You're not behind. You are in the sacred, exquisite space between. And that space, it's rich with wisdom. It's where soul upgrades happen. It's where clarity gestates. It's where softness becomes strength. When you stop trying to rush the arrival, you find power in the pause. So this is your invitation to breathe and to trust, to feel what you have been avoiding, okay? And to surrender the outdated identities and let yourself unfurl. The most transformational moments happen in micro presence. So be there, be present. You don't need to solve it. You need to feel it. You need to come home to your body because it is the one place that is always true. Your body speaks to you. And presence is not passive. It's where power is born. You are allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. So stop trying to fast forward your way through the discomfort. There are treasures here, okay? And this path will unfold while you're walking, not before. What is that MLK quote? Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. Your presence is your power source. And when you stop reaching and you start rooting, you realize the wisdom, the clarity, the healing. It's been here all along. You just need to slow down enough to hear it. This isn't the end. It is the becoming. So let's close with this. It might feel like things are unraveling, okay? Like you're being pulled into a space that doesn't make sense, that is baffling, that is just a head scratcher. But this isn't your undoing, it's your unfolding. And this isn't the end, this is the becoming. Your new self isn't coming. She's already arriving. She's already inside of you. And every unraveling is also an invitation. I just had that Weezer song play in my mind. Sweater. There's a song called Sweater by Weezer. And I'm thinking of this unraveling. Okay. And it's almost like this visual. Y'all know I'm an artist, so I see things in my mind like as clear as a movie. Actually, it's really kind of wild. I know some people's minds work that way and some people's don't. I learned that probably in the last 10 years because my mind worked that way. I think I spent most of my life assuming that everyone's mind worked that way and that everyone saw things really vividly like images in their mind. And I've since, as an adult, learned that that's not the case. Just like some people have an inner voice that never shuts up, and some people do not have a little voice in their head that's constantly chattering. And, that might blow people's minds on both ends of the spectrum. Someone who has a very silent mind can maybe not even imagine what it would be like to live with the constant monkey mind. And someone who does live with the constant monkey mind, it's hard for them to imagine what it's like to not have that voice, that constant chatter inside of your head, right? I do get off on these tangents sometimes. All that to say, every unraveling, I thought of the Weezer song, the Sweater song, and this idea of your new self isn't coming. She's already arriving. She's already here. And it's almost like pictured this being with this huge, big, oversized sweater kind of enveloping you, right? Like you kind of lost yourself in this sweater. Like you can't even see your true form because of this shapeless kind of big sweater that's just covering you. But then there's this one little thread and you just are like, okay, I'm just going to start unraveling. And of course, it's a big, huge sweater. It's going to take a little bit, but I'm just going to keep unraveling and unraveling. And the whole thing is you feel like nothing's happening, but you stick through it. And next thing you know, we've unraveled it until we've revealed what was underneath all along. And it's you, it's your true self, You are not behind, you are blooming on divine time. And becoming, you might not like to hear this, but I got to say it. Becoming is not, it's rarely convenient, okay? It's rarely convenient. It's not going to happen in some convenient timeline when you want it to happen, but it's always worth it. And the more you trust the becoming, the more magnetic it becomes. This version of you will require softness, not just strategy, okay? And that's because you're not rebuilding the old, you're writing something entirely new. The woman you're becoming, the person you're becoming, it's already whispering to you in the quiet, in the shifts, in the space between. Trust them. Trust her. Walk with her. Know that you are not lost. You are mid-metamorphosis, okay? So if you are in this space right now, I see you. The void is real, but so is the becoming. You're not behind, you're in bloom, okay? The version of you that's emerging, she is wiser, softer, stronger, more whole. And when she arrives, she will thank you for holding the in between. She, he, they, guys, you understand what I'm saying here. Breathe, trust, keep going. I will meet you right here in the beautiful becoming. We can do that here. Be sure to follow on social media, guys. I love sharing things there as well. And come join me inside of one of the coaching containers or inside of Self Love Uni. We do a lot of becoming, beautiful becoming there. Links for all the details in the show notes. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.